This video is now in session, and Biden has been president for around 6 months or so, or maybe 7 months, close to 7 months, with since the start of his inauguration. And now that he's president, and now that he has to be held accountable for a lot of the things that happened under his presidency, we're gonna take this video to look at Biden's progress in his presidency. We're going to look at COVID as well as infrastructure, foreign affairs, and the overall polarization in America. Has any of those four things been improved in America or not? So let's start with COVID. COVID, originally when Biden took office, was going down. From the start in January, it went down and down and down, and then it plateaued here, and then it continued to go down all the way to around July 4th. July 4th is when it was at its very lowest. But ever since July 4th, we're seeing cases go very high up again. And while this might not be totally Biden's fault, because ultimately a lot of this is because of unvaccinated people in Republican-led states. Ultimately, it's happening under Biden's administration. We're seeing how COVID cases are rising in the South, in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, and as well as Missouri. So even though this might not be totally Biden's fault, as it's more of a regional issue, ultimately, this is an issue that still is plaguing America as a whole. Cases in Florida will impact cases in America and will impact the economy of the United States, with the Delta variant spreading more and more around the states. And that's a side effect of all the problems of COVID that's happening right now. We're seeing a divide that's occurring between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, and that's a problem that Biden has not really solved in any way. If we look at the COVID vaccination, it's at 60%, but 3 weeks ago it was at 57%. The pace that vaccinations are going is very slow. Right now, it has increased a little bit because COVID cases have went up, but it is nowhere near where it should be. It should be at least around 80% for herd immunity to be achieved, and that means 80% for all ages. So far, the only age group that has gone to that point is 65% and up, and only they are 1% from 1% above the herd immunity level of 80% in terms of fully vaccinated, in terms of the fully vaccinated population of America's seniors. So in terms of when herd immunity will be achieved, it's around January and February, according to the current pace that we're going at with vaccinations, which is not really a good thing for the United States when the economy is directly tying over to how COVID is spreading in the United States. We've recently seen reports about a slowing U.S. economy, an economy where people are starting to buy less in July because of the Delta variant, and that will mean an economy that doesn't quite go on a linear or an exponential growth for the United States. So that's the COVID situation right now. It was before July doing good, but now it's not doing that good. And even though it does seem like that a plateau will come around here, it's still a far cry away from the days that we saw in June, where there were much less people who got cases every single day. So that's COVID. Now, turning to infrastructure. The Senate did pass an bipartisan infrastructure bill, but that hasn't gone anywhere as of now. Obviously, the House is still out of session. They're still having their August vacation, so it's kind of unfair to say that the process is being gridlocked, because it's really just quorum, and it's really just it's not because of the Democrats that this is happening. It's not because of the Republicans that this is happening. But we have reason to believe that when the House does get back into session, when they get out of their August break, then will have trouble passing this bill because progressives want the $3.5 trillion budget plan to pass in tandem with the infrastructure bill. But 9 moderates have stated that they want the infrastructure bill to pass before the $3.5 trillion budget bill. So you can see here that those are two very contrasting opinions. And the problem with this is that Democrats don't have enough of a majority to ignore one party or the other. Democrats cannot ignore moderates because there are 9 members there, and all it takes is just 5 defections from the Democratic Party to reject these proposals. And then for the progressive side, you have more than 5 progressives who are asking Pelosi to consider the $3.5 trillion budget plan at the same time as the infrastructure plan. So it's going to be a bunch of negotiations that will be happening between Pelosi and as well as progressives and moderates. And it's not like that many Republicans would most likely side to this kind of bill, just because in the House it's very one-sided for a lot of these bills, as we've seen in the Biden administration. So with that, it's a stalemate as of now. In terms of when the infrastructure and the budget bill can be passed, most likely it will be passed in October or maybe November. The thing with Congress is Congress moves at a very slow pace. So even though this process really shouldn't be taking 4 months, it is taking 4 months. And that's just the system, and that's not good for Biden. When he is currently facing a lot of troubles, especially when it comes to foreign policy. Recently, we saw images of desperation at Kabul airport, where thousands of Afghans were trying to escape from the Taliban regime and trying to go to a safer, more democratic place. So with that, the Biden administration is now embroiled in a bunch of blame game, in a very big blame game, and that is not really good for President Biden and his approval rating, which will definitely go down because of this event. And in yesterday's video, we outlined how taking responsibility isn't necessarily a bad thing. Admitting that you are wrong gives you some humility. That's something that we outlined in yesterday's video and showed through past precedent how taking responsibility can increase your approval rating. But Biden doesn't seem to be taking that path, and because of that, he is bound to suffer in the polls. And then finally, we have political polarization in the United States. It's still ongoing. A lot of us expected Republicans in the mainstream or establishment Republicans would at least start to negotiate more actively with the Biden administration. That has not been proven, and it's been proven false. As of now, a lot of Republicans still think that the 2020 election was stolen. They still think that Biden is not a good. They still think that Biden should not be president. Many of them are calling for Biden to resign, and you still see the political polarization that we saw in 2016. So it's not really a good situation overall for President Biden right now. He does have the blueprints to actually solve most of these issues, maybe not political polarization, but he does have solutions to solve Afghanistan. He does have paths to get the infrastructure bill passed, and he does have a path to get COVID back under control. But this is all contingent on other individuals getting these plans done. It's contingent on people getting vaccinated. It's contingent on Nancy Pelosi being able to broker deals, and it's contingent on the Taliban not being super aggressive. So that's really not a good thing for President Biden when he is not able to control the situation. And that is why his approval rating is going down, and that's why his honeymoon is already over. So that's the situation of Biden that is happening right now. That is the state of play for Biden's first 7 months as president. And that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.